Hello everyone, welcome to our group presentation for Assessment 2, Pedagogical and Practice in Music and Performing Arts Education. Today our group Xue Tongxin, Guo Xi, Lin Yangyu, and Xiao Ziyue will explore several major educational theories and their application in music and performing arts teaching. My second section focuses on behaviorism, one of the most influential learning theories in arts education. First of all, what I want to talk about is behaviorism. I will start with a brief self-introduction. Then I will explain the basic ideas of behaviorism and introduce some key figures, such as Skinner. After that, I will focus on how behaviorism is applied in music education, especially in piano teaching and in the music classroom. I will show how methods like modeling, repetition, and reinforcement help students improve accuracy and bass skills. I will also briefly reflect on the impact of behaviorist approach on student motivation and learning outcomes. Finally, I will summarize the key points and open the session for questions. Behaviorism, which is a learning theory, strictly focuses on observable behavior. Instead of looking into the internal thoughts and feelings on a person, this theory claims that learning occurs through well-defined stimulus response patterns. When a certain behavior of student is reinforced, for example, by praising, correction, or forming practice, he or she is very likely to repeat that behavior. Who developed behaviorism? Number one, John B. Watson is one of the founders of behaviorism. He believed psychology should study what we can see, not what people think. He focused on observable behavior and learning through experience. Number two, B.F. Skinner developed behaviorism's future. He believed behavior is shaped by rewards and punishment. His ideas are widely used in education and skill learning. Number three, Ivan Pavlov is famous for his experiments with dogs. He showed how learning can happen through association. This is called classical conditioning. For this part, I want to explain why behaviorism is useful in music teaching, especially in the early stage of learning. First of all, music learning requires a lot of practice and accuracy. Whether students are learning rhythm, finger, or bassist technique, they need to repeat the same actions many times before they become stable. Behaviorism supports this process by encouraging content practice and focusing on observable thoughts. Secondly, behaviorist reinforcement helps students build able technique habits. When students reveal clear feedback, such as praise for crowd rhythm or correct hand position, they understand what they are doing right and are more likely to repeat that behavior. Over time, this reinforcement helps correct actions become automatic. Another important point is that behaviorism provides clear do this, get this patterns. In music learning, this is especially helpful for rhythm and fingering. For example, if a student plays with the correct rhythm, they immediately receive forward feedback. This clear cause and effect reaction shape makes learning more efficient and less confusing. Finally, behaviorism also teaching to focus on theme. clear stamp of foregrass. Instead of expecting students to master everything at once, teachers can break down skills into simple, measurable tasks. This helps students feel less overwhelmed and more confident as they move stamp and stamp toward improvement. So overall, behaviorism offers a structured, practical, and effective approach to developing fundamental musical skills, especially for beginners. Next, common strategies in behaviorist teaching include breaking skills down into small steps, repetitive and freezing training, the process of demonstration, imitation, practice, and immediate enforcement such as praise or action. This slide shows how behaviorism is applied in piano teaching. First, piano teaching under behaviorists is based on clear stimulus and response. The teacher gives clear instructions and students support with specific actions, such as correct hand position or rhythm. Second, performance plays an important role. While students play recordedly, positive feedback helps strengthen good playing habits and increases motivation. Finally, repetition is essential. Through frequent and structured practice, students structurally develop music memory and technique control. Overall, behaviorism helps beginner piano students build solo technique facilitation in an efficient and structured way. Among them, here are some steps that can be applied in piano teaching. They are divided into 4 parts. First, practice in sections, break it down into several small parts and repeat the practice. Second, provide timely feedback. During the students' practice, give positive response when they are correct and correct them promptly when they are wrong. Third, set a practice goal, allowing students to practice with a purpose. Finally, refocus recognition, acknowledge the correct behaviors of students and strengthen their core knowledge. Now, I'd like to give a simple example of how behaviorism is used in piano teaching. First, the teacher shows the correct hand shape. This gives students a clear model to follow. At this stage, students don't need a long explanation. They just need to see what the correct hand position looks like. Next, the students copy the hand shape. The students try to make their hand look the same as the teacher's. This is a very direct and clear task. If the student's hand shape is correct, the teacher gives praise, for example, saying, "Good hand shape," or "That looks correct." This positive feedback encourages the student to keep using the same hand position. However, if the hand complies, the teacher corrects immediately, the teacher may stop the student, show the correct shape again, and ask the student to repeat. This process may happen several times until the student gets it right. Through this model, copy, feedback process, the student solely depends a stable technique habit. This is a typical behavior-based approach, focusing on observable actions, repetition, and immediate reinforcement. This muscles is especially effective for beginner piano students because it is clear, structured, and easy to follow. When applying behaviorist teaching in group classes, first, it is necessary to schedule multiple practices in an organized manner and provide timely feedback to consolidate the correct methods. Then some digital tools can be used to stimulate the motivation for learning in the classroom, and students can observe and imitate each other. This page gives a clear example of how a behaviorism approach can structure a field group lessons activity. The lesson usually begins with a warm-up reel, where our students repeat a simple rhythm pattern together to establish focus and accuracy. After that, the class moves into an experiential tasks such as small group performing or playing short musical phrases. As students perform, their classmates observe, which strengthens learning through imitation and comparison. Finally, the teacher provides reinforcement, precise rhythm, good handshake, or overall improvement. This cycle of real practice, observation, and reinforcement makes the learning procedural, efficient, and highly engaging for the entire class. On this page, I want to reflect on the impact of using behaviorism in music learning. One of the biggest advantages is that it makes progress very visible. When students repeat short drill and receive immediately feedback, they can clearly feel themselves getting better, which builds confidence. Behaviorism also helps students develop discipline because they understand exactly what the teacher expects and what they need to fix. Over time, this structured approach creates strong technical habits. Another important point is that reinforcement, whether surprise or a simple good job, really boosts motivation. Students become more willing to practice because they know their effort leads to real improvement. So overall, behaviorism gives both teachers and students a clear pathway for developing accuracy and consistency. Summing up, behaviorism underpins the strongest technique skills via repetition, reinforcement, and explicit introduction. In the future, a mixture of behaviorism and creative, student-centered approaches can lead to more equitable and powerful learning experience. Thank you for listening. I'm happy to take questions.
Hello, Tongxin.
Hello.
Why is humanism particular suitable for beginner learning the piano?
Because beginners of the piano need clear and observed learning goals, behaviorism helps students quickly establish crash hand positions, rhythms, and best playing habits through demonstration, repetitive practice, and immediate feedback, reducing the solidification of mistake and improving learning efficiency. Okay, that's all. Thank you so much for your action.
Okay, thank you. Hello everyone, my name is Guo Xi. Today I'm going to presentation my topic, Humanism in Music and Arts Education. I will explain what humanism means in an educational context, why is it especially relevant to music education, and how a hermeneutic approach can be applied in real teaching practice. On this slide, I want to explain what humanism means in music and art education. Humanism means that students are seen as whole persons, not just learners who practice technicals. In music learning, this is important because students bring their emotions, experience, and personal background into the classroom. So, learning is not only about playing the right notes, but also about personal growth. Humanism also focuses on meaningful and expressive learning. Instead of only repeating exercise, students are encouraged to understand the music and express something through it. Another key idea is autonomy and self-direction. Students are given some choice in their learning, and they are encouraged to reflect on what they are doing and why. And then, several key figures are closely related to humanistic education. First, Abraham Maslow proposed the hierarchy of needs. He suggested that learning can only happen effectively when basic needs such as safety, belonging, and esteem are met. The ultimate goal of education is self-actualization. Second, Cole Rogers emphasized empathy and emotional support in learning. He believed teachers should act as facilitators, not authorities, and that learning grows from autonomy and self-reflection. In music education, David Elliott, it describes music education as a process of human flourishing, focusing on meaning, emotion, and the whole person rather than technique alone. Humanist is built on several core values. First, it is learning-centered, meaning teaching decisions are based on learners' needs. Second, it values emotion safely and empathy, which allows students to feel comfortable making mistakes. Third, humanism respects individual differences, such as learning pace, background, and personal goals. Finally, humanism offers support for self-actualization. This means helping students realize their own potential through learning. In music education, this can be understanding themselves better, feeling more confident, and finding personal meaning in music. Why humanism matters in music education? First, humanism supports identity development. Through music learning, students are not only learn skills, but also learning about themselves. Music can become part of how they see who they are. Humanism also encourages emotions expression. When students are allowed to express feelings through music, learning becomes more personal and meaningful, and not just technical. Another reason is that humanism builds confidence and autonomy. When students feel respected and supported, they are more confident to make choice and take responsibility for this learning. Finally, humanism enhances engagement and relevance. Students are more engaged when they feel that music learning connected to their own life and experience rather than feeling distant or forced. Following the previous slide, this slide looks at the motivation in humanism. First, humanism valued intrinsic motivation. Students learn music because they enjoy it and feel interested, not only because of grades or exams. Second, emotions matter in learning. Harvard research shows that students' motivation is closely linked to how they feel when learning music. Third, autonomy also matters. When students have some choice in how they learn, they usually want to keep going for a longer time. Finally, teacher support helps reduce anxiety. Feeling supported makes students more willing to try and experience themselves. After talking about motivation, this slide look at the teacher's role in humanistic teaching. First, the teacher acts more as a facilitator instead of only giving instructions. The teachers guide students and supports their learning. Second, teachers provide emotion support. In music learning, students often feel stressed or unsure, so a positive attitude helps them keep trying. Third, teachers encourage reflection to help students think about their learning. Finally, teachers help connect music to life experience. When music related to students' feelings or experience, learning becomes more meaningful. After talking about teachers' role, this slide looks at some teaching strategies used in humanism. First, in humanism, teachers try to give students meaningful choice. For example, students might choose a piece or tempo or how they want to practice. This helps students feel more involved in learning. Second, teachers focus on expressions first. Instead of correcting every technical detail straight away, students are encouraged to think about sound and feeling first. Another important strategy is reflection through discussing. Teachers can ask simple questions like, what were you trying to express, or how did that feel? This helps students understand their own learning better. Humanism also encourages teachers to connect music to real life. Once students can link music to their own feelings or experience, learning feels more meaningful and personal. Finally, teachers should encourage creative. Could be through improvisation or trying different ways of playing the same music. So overall, these strategies help students stay interested, feel more confident, and build a stronger personal connections with music. After talking about teaching strategy, this slide shows how humans works in the classroom. First, teacher try to create a sportive atmosphere, so students feel more comfortable to practice and try. Teachers also encourage choice and autonomy. For example, letting students decide how to practice or approach a task. Another point is connecting music to students' own experience, which helps learning feel more meaningful. Teacher can also use short reflection moment by asking simple questions about what students were trying to express. At the same time, teachers respect different learning speed and goals. Because students do not all learn in the same way. Finally, expression is often focused on before technical correction, so students can focus on musical idea first. So on this slide, I want to give a simple violin lessons example to show how humanness work in practice. First, the students choose a melody they enjoy. This is important because its learning starts from students' interest, not from what the teacher decides. Before playing, the students is asked to say what feeling they want to show in the song. For example, calm, sad, or energetic. This helps the students think about expressions from the beginning. Then, the teacher helps the students adjust a technique, such as bow hold and bow speed, but always in relation to the emotion the students want to express, not just a correct mistake. Teachers may also ask the students to explore different parts of the bow, like the flock, middle, or tip, and see how these choices affect phrasing or sound. Throughout the lesson, the main focus is expressions rather than perfect intonation. technical accuracy is still important, but it's developed gradually after the students understand the musical idea. This example shows how hypnosis puts the student's feeling and the musical intention at the center of the learning process. This slide looks at the impact of hypnosis teaching. First, the terms of students' outcomes. Students often show higher intrinsic motivation. They feel more confident. Music feels more meaningful to them, and their playing becomes more expressive. In feedback and assessment, teachers focus more on reflection than on pointing out mistakes. Students are encouraged to think about their own learning goals, and feedback is ongoing and supportive. For example, after playing a piece, a student might briefly explain what they were trying to express and what choice they made. The teacher then responds and help guide the next step. So to finish my presentation, hypnosis in music education mainly focus on the learn as a whole person, not only a technical accuracy or result. Throughout the slide, we can see that giving students choice, allowing emotions expression, and helping them find personal meaning in music can support motivation and learning. This idea is also discussed by Eliot and Seligman, who suggests that music education should support human development rather than only training technical. In practice, this means the teachers acts more as a supportive guide, helping students reflect, express themselves, and grow at their own pace. In future, hypnotic teaching can be improved by using more learner centers and reflective activities, and by thinking about assessment in a more meaning-focused way. So, so that's end of my presentation. Thank you for your listening. Do you have any questions for me?
Hello, Guoxi, I have a question.
Okay, please.
How can a teacher balance musical expression and technique accuracy in a humanistic approach?
Okay, I think the balances come from starting with expression first. The teachers listen to what the students want to express in the music, and then use technical to help make that sound clear. So technical is important, but it serves the music, not the other way around. That's all. Thank
Okay,
you.
thank you.
Hi everyone, today I would like to share with you a topic that has become increasingly significant in contemporary music education, constructivism, and music education. In recent years, educational paradigms have shifted from a focus on knowledge transmission to an emphasis on learner-centered exploration and active engagement. In music classroom, this raises an important question. Is learning music merely about imitating a teacher, practicing skills, or performing notes accurately, or is it a process in which students actively construct meaning based on their own experiences, reflection, and cultural context? Constructivism provides a theoretical framework to address these questions, helping educators design learning experiences that are meaningful, engaging, and conducive to both technical and aesthetic development in students. Traditionally, music education has been teacher-centered, where the instructor is the authoritative source of knowledge, and students primarily absorb information passively. However, 21st century music education emphasizes skills beyond technique, including creativity, collaboration, uh, aesthetic appreciation, and cultural understanding. Research has shown that when students actively participate in music making, express personal ideas, and relate music to their own experiences, they develop deeper understanding and more lasting skills. Constructivism asserts that knowledge is not simply received from a teacher, textbook, or external source, but is actively constructed by the learner through experiences, reflection, experimentation, and social interaction. New understanding builds upon existing knowledge, meaning that different students may construct unique interpretations of the same musical concept. In constructivist classroom, learning is situated, contextual, and highly personal. The teacher's role is not to dictate answers, but to act as a facilitator, mentor, and designer of rich learning environments. Three series are foundational to constructivist education. Jean Piaget emphasized cognitive development, proposing that learners actively build knowledge through assimilation and accommodation of new experiences. Lev Vygotsky extended this perspective by highlighting the social and cultural dimensions of learning, arguing that cognitive development occurs through interactions with others. His concept of the zone of proximal development illustrates the gap between what a learner can do independently and what they can achieve with guidance, highlighting the importance of scaffolding. Jerome Bruner focused on discovery learning, emphasizing exploration, problem solving, and guided discovery as key to meaningful understanding. Together, these series form a framework for designing learning experiences that are both active and society contextualized with implications for music education. Constructivist education is characterized by several key features. First, it is learner-centered, respecting the individuality and the prior knowledge of each student. Second, learning occurs in authentic context, connecting knowledge to real-world situations. Third, collaborative learning is emphasized as peer interaction and discussion play a crucial role in knowledge construction. Fourth, the focus is on the learning process rather than solely on outcomes, allowing for exploration, trial and error, and reflection. Fifth, the teacher acts as a facilitator and guide, creating meaningful experiences rather than simply providing correct answers. In such an environment, students not only acquire skills, but also develop a deeper understanding of why music works the way it does, enhancing their ability to think critically and creativity. In the context of music education, constructivism provides a framework for fostering deep musical understanding and creativity. Music is inherently social and cultural, and students develop musical meaning through experiences, interpretation, and reflection. Constructivist music education emphasized active participation in performance, listening, improvisation, composition, and discussion. Students are encouraged to explore multiple interpretations, reflect on emotional and structural aspects, as relate music to their own cultural experiences. Research indicates that this approach enhanced both aesthetic awareness and intrinsic motivation. Rather than simply performing mechanically, students become active agents who construct meaning, make expensive choice, and develop personal connection to music. There are several ways to implement constructivist principles in music classroom. Teachers can encourage students to investigate the cultural and emotional context of the music piece, fostering understanding beyond notes and rhythm. Collaborative performance or composition allows students to learn from peers while developing social and musical skills. Compelling multiple interpretations of the same piece cultivates critical listening and reflective thinking. Teachers can also pose open-ended questions and encourage inquiry, rather than providing prescriptive instructions. Importantly, learning should begin from the student's prior musical knowledge, interest, and cultural background, so that new learning is meaningful and personally relevant. To illustrate, consider a beginner piano lesson using Unit 8 in G. In a traditional approach, instruction focused on fingering, rhythm, and touch, and students primarily imitate the teacher. In a constructivist approach, students first listen to multiple versions and discuss different in tempo, dynamics, and mood. They are encouraged to reflect on the expressive qualities of the music by asking questions such as how should dance piece feel? Next, they experiment with touch, articulation, and phrasing, sharing feedback with peers. The teacher provides scaffolding, rhythm guidance, technical suggestions, or interpretive prompts, but generally reduce support as students gain independence. By the end of the lesson, each student developed a personal interpretation, transforming the practice session into a process of meaning construction rather than mere repetition. This piano teaching example demonstrates several constructivist principles. Students build understanding based on prior knowledge, reflecting Piaget's views of cognitive construction. Peer discussion and teacher guidance highlight the social aspect of learning and align with Vygotsky's CPD, emphasizing scaffolding and guided support. Exploration of multiple interpretations embodies Bruner's discovery learning, encourage students to experiment and reflect critically. Importantly, the teacher functions as a facilitator, creating a rich learning environment rather than delivering a single correct interpretation. In conclusion, constructivism offers a learner-centered, open, and creative approach to music education. It allows students to move from passive imitation to active understanding, from technical execution to musical thinking, and from individual practice to collaborative engagement. Piano and general music classroom can integrate constructivist principles with technology, interdisciplinary learning, and multicultural education to create meaningful, interactive, and engaging experiences. Ultimately, the goal of music education should be develop learner with aesthetic awareness, expressive capacity, and cultural understanding. Rather than merely producing performers, constructivism provides both a theoretical foundation and practical stages to realize this vision. Cultivating more thoughtful, creative, and autonomous musicians. Thank you. Here are my references. I welcome your feedback and questions.
In constructivist music education, how can teachers effectively balance between providing necessary guidance and ensuring students have enough autonomy to construct their own musical understanding?
Thank you. The key is dynamic scaffolding that adapt to each student's needs. For example, in a piano lesson, I might first demonstrate phrasing, then quickly shift to asking open questions like, how would you express this phrase? I provide support only when needed and gradually reduce it as students gain confidence, ensuring them build skills while making their own interpretive choice. This reflects Vygotsky's GPD, guiding within their reach, then stepping back to let their musical voice emerge. That's all. Thank you.
Respected judge and teachers, my name is Xiao Ziyue. The title of presentation is The Application of Metacognitive Theory in Music and Performing Arts Education. This presentation will be structured around three core parts. First, an analysis of the theoretical framework of metacognition. Second, three core application strategies for teaching music and performing arts. Finally, I will explore important implications for music education through practical examples. The aim is to clarify how metacognition is a key theoretical bridge that empowers students to move from learning to learning how to learn. Metacognition is academically defined as thinking about one's own thinking. It refers to a learner's self-awareness, monitoring, and control of their own thoughts processes and learning activities. This theory was formally proposed by psychologist John Flavel and further developed by researchers like Anne Brown, particularly regarding monitoring and control mechanisms. Its framework consists of 3 interconnected core elements. First, metacognitive knowledge. This is the learner's awareness of their own characteristics, task requirements, and available learning strategies. Second, metacognitive monitoring. This is the real-time tracking and evaluation of one's own understanding, progress, and performance during the learning process. Third, metacognitive control. This involves dynamically adjusting and optimizing learning strategies, methods, and evolve based on feedback from monitoring. Learning in music and performing arts is a complex combination of cognition, physical skill, and emotional expression. This nature makes metacognition critically important. Metacognition systematically upgrades a student's learning mode from passive, mechanical repetition to active, efficient, and strategic learning. It specifically empowers students with 4 key abilities: proactive planning, in-process monitoring, accurate evaluation, and flexible control. This signifies a profound shift in our art education from focusing on internal skill trend towards cultivating internal, transferable learning capabilities. The first practical application is to systematically cultivate students' metacognitive knowledge. This requires teachers to guide learners in building awareness across 3 levels. First, at the level of knowing themselves, teachers need to help students identify their dominant learning style. For instance, whether they are more auditory or synesthetic learners. Second, at the level of knowing the task, teachers should guide students to precisely analyze the core challenges of a musical piece or performance segment, including both technical and artistic difficulties. Finally, at the level of knowing strategies, teachers must help students build a rich toolbox of learning strategies. This allows students to understand which methods to apply to different types of problems, such as using slow practice for technical issues or character background research for deeper dramatic expression. The second core application is to strengthen students' metacognitive monitoring ability, developing their insights. Here, 2 effective tools are recommended. The first is recording audio video. It provides the most objective feedback, allowing learners to step outside their own perspective and review their performance as an observer would. The second is a structured practice journal. Using fixed sessions like recording, Today's goal, strategies used, problem found, and plan for tomorrow help turn the internal wage process of monitoring into clear, traceable written records. Furthermore, guiding students to internalize a set of self-questioning prompts used before, during, and after practice systematically trains their internal assessment mechanism. This enables them to automatically act as their own coach during artistic practice. Third, we help students turn awareness into action. This is control. Let's see two brief examples. In a case, a student playing Chopin noticed her rubato was loose and unstructured. Instead of just repeating, she changed her strategy. She used a metronome for a steady pace, analyzed the chord to plan where to slow down or speed up, and mark it in the score. Results, her playing became more controlled and expressive. Vocal case, a soprano found her high notes tense and shaky. She stopped just trying harder. Instead, she brought the phrase down, practiced the vowels gently in her middle range, and focused entirely on steady breath supports using a blowing imaging. Results, the transition became smooth and stable. In both, the teacher acts as a stage coach, offering a concrete new plan when the old one failed. In summary, metacognitive theory provides clear direction and implications for the professional development of music and art teachers. The fundamental implication is a shift in the teacher's role. From a traditional authority figure transmitting knowledge and skills to a cultivator of students' learning abilities and a coach of cognitive strategies. This means the focus of teaching must extend profoundly from teaching a piece or a law to teaching how to learn a piece or a law. Although challenge exists in practice, an effective path is to miniaturize and normalize the cultivation of metacognition, integrating it organically into every demonstration, every feedback session, and every class discussion. Ultimately, the final goal of our education is to cultivate not only technically skilled artists, but wise artists equipped with lifelong learning and independent artistic exploration abilities. In conclusion, metacognitive theory provides a vital perspective and practical framework for music and performing arts education. Its core value lies in returning the initiative and methodology of learning to the students. achieving an essential leap from learning specific skills to learning how to learn any artistic discipline, guiding students to master their own learning process while refining their skills is the most valuable asset we as educators can bestow upon the artists of the future. This is my references. Thank you for your attention. I welcome your questions.
Hi, Ziyue.
Hello.
In your opinion, what is the biggest practical challenge for school or teachers when trying to use cognitive teaching? What is one simple first step you would recommend?
Okay, thank you. The biggest practical challenge is time pressure. Teachers feel their class time is already full with no room for metacognitive activities. My first step recommendation is very simple. Change just the last minute of every lesson. Usually, the last minute is for the teacher's summary. Instead, we give this minute to the students by asking just 2 questions. What was one moment in today's lesson you feel best about in your own learning? This guides monitoring. If you could focus on improving just one thing during your practice, what would it be? This guides planning. This works because, first, it doesn't take away lesson time, it's just 1 minute. Second, the questions are simple. Students don't need to think too hard to answer. Third, you see results immediately. Their answers are direct feedback on their learning, which helps the teacher plan the next lesson. In essence, this turns the starting point of metacognition from being an extra task into a natural way to end class. When teachers see the positive students' responses and useful feedback from just this 1 minute, they become more motivated to try other metacognitive strategies in their teaching. That's all. Thank you. Let's conclude our group's presentation. We welcome your feedback and questions. Thank you.